You are listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with Steve Worsley, the toxic mold expert and your number one source for mold consulting and mitigation in the USA. Let's dive into a brand new episode.
Before we get started on this episode, here's a not-so-short disclaimer. While all attempts have been made to verify the content provided in this podcast, neither the podcaster nor the producers assume any responsibility for errors, omissions, or alternative interpretations of the issues discussed here. All information stated in this podcast is the opinion of Steve Worsley. Steve Worsley is a mold specialist with over 25 years of experience in the construction and mold industry. The Toxic Mold Podcast is for information sharing purposes only. The views expressed are those of the podcaster and his alone. These views should not be taken as expert instruction or commands. While there may be references to medical conditions and symptoms, all podcast episodes are the opinion of Steve Worsley, and any medical questions or concerns shall be addressed with the appropriate licensed medical professional or professionals. As the podcaster refers to different mold types, please be aware that Steve Worsley is not a microbiologist, and questions concerning mold specifics should be answered by the appropriate professional. Steve isn't, nor does he offer any legal advice. For any legal advice, you must speak to a lawyer. The listener is 100% responsible for his or her own actions. You can check out Steve's books on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for author Steve Worsley. You can also take Steve's mold education courses, such as Mold 101 and the Mycotoxin Prevention Kit, by going to cnccontractorservices.com. Again, check out his mold education courses at cnccontractorservices.com. Now, let's get to the episode.
Hello, you're listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with myself, Steve Worsley. We have my wife, Cassandra. It's starting to get cooler.
A little bit at a time.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll be complaining that it's the tundra. So,
exactly.
Last week we talked about window wells, but we're going to start talking about some preventative measures you can do on your home. Because it's funny because I feel like we kind of get caught in ruts. Like we'll talk about SPCs and then we'll talk about mycotoxins and then I'll have an epiphany and be like, well, I haven't talked about prevention in a while.
Well, and prevention is so important. I remember the movie Mary Poppins, and she sang about the fact that an ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure, or is better than a pound of cure. And it's very true when it comes to mold. If you can prevent it, as opposed to having to cure it or fix it, lots of money, lots of time, and lots of health. That is
I hate to admit this to all our listeners, but my grandma used to watch Mary Poppins, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched it.
Yeah, I know every song.
Well, that's good. So, like we just talked about, prevention is key. So like in your opinion, what are easy things that they could do?
Easy things are just modifying habits that may be contributing to moisture, splashing the tub, filling the tub too high so that it spills over and the water lands on the floor, making sure that your showers are sealed properly so when you're taking a shower, it's not leaking somewhere, not taking 3-hour showers. I mean, those are just some of the initial examples that I'm thinking, kids running around with muddy boots and swimsuits that are wet and they just drop them on the floor when they come home. I mean, those are some of the easy ones.
You'd be surprised how often I hear from my clients, well, kids will be kids and my teenage son never turns on the exhaust fan. It's like, well, now you're dealing with something that's costing you thousands and thousands of dollars. We had a little, I don't want to call it an incident the other day, but I kept noticing water kept kind of coming across our countertop.
Yes.
And remember, I pointed out to you, I'm like, it's getting clear over here. Where's it coming from? And for our listeners, we have granite countertops. So they're obviously waterproof for the most part. But we have this little rack that we use when we when we hand wash our dishes. What we figured out is it was kind of following an odd path and making its way towards the center.
Correct. And that's one of the examples of prevention, which once a house is built, unless you're going to remodel, you can't really control that. But they now have the sinks that don't they sort of lean? I mean, the countertop.
Not that I know of.
Oh, really? I
No.
thought there was one where it all goes towards the sink or something.
And now if you to do granite, that would be very difficult.
Okay.
But if you were to pour concrete and then like polish it, you could grade it, slope it.
Yeah.
And that's what I had mentioned.
Okay.
And because at first I was like, well, if we keep having these problems, I'll just run a clear bead of silicone that you can't really see to channel the water.
Yeah.
But it's something like, I guess for our listeners, it was a perfect example of something that we caught and we're like, where's this water coming from?
Correct.
But think about if that was happening behind a wall. Like you just said, you're filling the bathtub up too high and you're 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, you got 2-3 kids in the tub and they're splashing everywhere. Yeah, it's all fun and games till everybody starts getting
Till the
sick.
water gets trapped somewhere else. And
Exactly.
or leaks that you don't think need addressing, like little, tap leaks that you think, oh, it's fine. And you have no idea that it's accumulating, or a water heater that's leaking. I mean, there are just certain things that people think is not a big deal for right now.
Yeah.
And it actually is creating a very big deal for toxic mold.
Yeah, when I did home inspections all the time, I can't tell you how often I found water heaters that were beyond their design life, meaning so the bottoms of them were rusting out.
Wow.
And I would always say, depending on who was there, whether it was the buyer or the seller, but usually if it was the seller that said, oh, it's in this unfinished mechanical room, it's fine, I would look at them and say, what if you're on vacation for 2 weeks or a week and the bottom of that water heater blew out?
Exactly.
You'd flood your whole basement.
You would. Or even, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but sometimes people will have a humidity issue in a certain room, like in the basement. And so their way of fixing it is to just close the door.
Yeah.
And say, okay, just don't go in there. It'll be fine. But mold travels well.
But think about it. So I hear that quite often. So we just don't go in there. It's always humid in there, or it's cold storage. And it's like, well, if you don't address that, if it's in a basement, let's say in this office that we had that same attitude. Well, what's above this? Our living room.
Oh, that's right. It just travels up there.
So,
or even dogs that, one of our dogs, he's very peculiar about his water bowl, and we used to try
is what he is.
We used to try bowls, and he would just knock them over.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like this bowl, and he would knock it over, and that causes moisture intrusion problems.
Right. And so speaking of prevention, so we have one of those auto waters, where is it sitting?
Within a pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I literally went to Lowe's and bought, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, but something you're supposed to put in your entry to put your muddy boots on. Mm-hmm. And that's where the dog water
Correct.
and food is.
As a preventative measure.
And if you look at the bottom of that, could you imagine what it would be doing to the floor if it wasn't there?
Exactly.
You're talking about the big dog. We have a little dog that he's a total butthead. When the water gets low enough, he kicks it, moves it everywhere. A little dachshund. He's something. But, those are good points to bring up. And so for our listeners, don't wait till those little things become huge things. I tell people all the time, it's like the check engine light on your car. Mm-hmm. There's a purpose of why it's coming on.
Correct.
Now, one of our vehicles, the check engine light is on all the time because of mice.
Yes.
Remember, they chewed through a wire sensor, and I looked it up. I asked a buddy of mine, I'm like, is that going to cause any problems? And he's like, no, it's just an O2 sensor. Mm-hmm. But what if it is a sensor for something that could be major, and it ended up being a whole motor?
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's the same principle with your home. So it's easy for me to say it behind a microphone, but our listeners are listening for a reason. They're wanting to educate themselves, or they're probably dealing with a mold issue.
Correct. And everything, when you're in the middle of dealing with a mold issue, everything contributes. So you want to look at what things am I doing? What habits am I doing that could contribute to the mold issue? What habits are my pets doing that could contribute to the mold issue? What habits are my plants or how I'm watering my plants doing? It's all of the things that you have to take a close look at.
Yeah. If you combine all of those things together, it can all metastasize and become a $30,000 mold remediation project.
Correct. When you could have actually gone on Amazon and purchased a 6-pack of humidity gauges for $18, and you would have found out real early when the humidity got above 60%.
Yeah. So let's talk about the preventative things.
Okay.
one of the easiest things you could do is monitor the humidity.
Yeah.
It's like your CGM sensor.
Yep.
Or you wear an Oura ring.
Exactly.
It told you when you got off the interstate and got on a state highway and that you went from from a lot of traffic to no traffic.
Yeah.
A humidity sensor, humidity gauge is the same thing.
Yes.
Like it literally, if you notice that one room is always humid, instead of closing the door in there, closing the door is going to make it more humid, but put a humidity gauge in there.
Exactly.
Like if you go to the doctor and well, I could speak for myself, but I go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, your blood pressure's a little high. And I'm like, that's normal. I take meds for it. But if I didn't monitor it, then how would I know?
Yeah, you wouldn't. And that's where there's different types of monitoring. So humidity gauges feels like baseline, everybody should have that. But there's also the Luft and some other things.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on it. You asked a question last week about the window wells and a whole house water monitoring system.
Yes.
And you thought it was like a leak system. And I'm sure there's something out there for that. But what I was referring to is something that you purchase and you would have to have a plumber install it unless you've got really good plumbing skills. It's something, and it would cost a few $100s, but you put it in the mechanical room. You attach it to your main water valve. Matter of fact, most of them are a valve itself. And then you Bluetooth it to your phone. It monitors how much water's coming through that valve.
Wow. Okay.
So if we're on vacation or we're on a job in Colorado, it'll send an alert to my phone and say, hey, there's an abnormal amount of water running through your meter. You can literally shut it off.
Wow. Remotely from your phone.
Yep. And
wow.
You can buy some cheaper systems that you have to manually go do it. But if you're going to spend the money, I would spend $400 or $500 and get the nice setup.
Yeah.
So we have that and the Luft that you talked about.
And can you go over what is the Luft?
So the Luft is an indoor air quality monitor. It monitors 6 different things. The reason I came across it is it's manufactured by Sunradon. They're the same manufacturers that make my CRMs, which are continuous radon monitors. They mainly sell them for radon. So you're getting a high quality radon monitor. So monitors radon, humidity, ECO2, TVOCs, air pressure, and temperature.
Okay.
If you're going to use it for monitoring radon, you should have it in the lowest livable level of your home. So for those that have a crawl space, don't put it in your crawl space. Put it in the first level above it.
Okay. First livable level is what you're
lowest
saying.
Livable.
Lowest livable level.
So if you have an unfinished basement, put it down there.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Radon gases are going to come in from the soils.
From the soils. Okay. So that's why you put on the lowest livable level.
Exactly.
What about dehumidifiers? How can that be a preventative piece of equipment?
Well, so depending on where you live, so if we lived in Florida, most people have dehumidifiers because it's naturally humid. If we needed a dehumidifier here out west,
there's a problem.
Yeah, there's something causing that. So you'd have to figure out what's causing it. But a dehumidifier would obviously lower the humidity levels because lower humidity levels would prevent mold growth.
Yeah, so it definitely helps. But what are the other things that, and I know, didn't you generate a list for people of the equipment they should purchase to help with mold prevention?
Yeah, so for our listeners on our website, if you go to the website, on the far right tab, it says More. If you click on that, there's a drop down that says Resources.
Okay.
Click on that tab, and there's a whole list of HEPA vacuums, water alarms, the Luft, flashlights, UV light. There's all sorts of stuff.
Okay. Just so that, because I know that we're talking about some of the best examples of equipment for mold prevention, but obviously on that resource page, you put a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, and I need to update that to put like the super stratum products on there for waterproofing. There's tons of things our listeners can do. Okay. And I know it's easy for me to say, like I said, behind the microphone, but you have to do things or have a spouse that's willing to routinely do things.
So as a mold expert, if you were going to say, because, somebody might be listening to this and they're going, okay, that's a lot of stuff to be doing. I'm just overwhelmed with the number of things I heard today, water alarms and humidity gauges and Lufts and all that. Like, what is if you could only choose one thing for people?
Humidity gauges.
Okay. There we go. That's the place to start.
Yeah, it's simple. It's cheap. If you want to upgrade to the Bluetooth ones, you bought some.
Yes.
They're called Govee.
Yep.
You have a Bluetooth to your phone.
Yes.
You have a ranges or alarm set, correct?
Yes, and and it's never alarmed me, but it would alarm me if something went wrong. But I also have the air purifier, so I can also look at the air quality at any time.
And we have a Luft.
That's right. We have all the things.
And you have a husband that's an indoor air quality specialist.
But at the end of the day, you're saying above all else, if somebody had to start somewhere today with mold prevention, the humidity gauges is where you tell them to start. Okay.
Yep. And put them, for those of you that are wondering, well, okay, Steve, where do we put them? Well, it depends on how many you get.
Okay.
If you can, put one in every room. I'm assuming there's one over there on the desk, isn't there? Maybe not.
Maybe not, but
I usually have one in every room.
Every room, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, so we can see, and even my alarm clock has humidity on it.
Yeah, but let's say you could only get a 3-pack, and you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home.
Yep.
I would put one in your mechanical room, so where your water heater and furnace is, and then I would go to the bathrooms or areas that have plumbing fixtures
or kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but definitely better to have more than less.
You could literally put one. How many rooms is this house?
Oh my!
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, I can't.
It's 6 bedrooms, but if we put one in every room, let's just say it's 12.
Yeah, it's probably
that's still not that many.
Yeah,
if you buy the cheap ones.
Yeah, so it's important to invest in your health, and starting with 6 to 12 humidity gauges is a good way to start.
Yeah, and I mean, and like I said, that's the reason I always suggest that. It's the easiest, it's the cheapest. It's not. All you have to do is look at it and make sure it's below 60%.
Exactly.
And for those of you that, if you have more money to spend and you want, ideas on other things, just reach out to us. But that anybody listening should be able to go buy a 3-pack.
Absolutely. So what's your call to action for people?
For our listeners right now, sit down with your spouse or significant other and come up with 3 things that are simple that you're going to do.
This weekend.
Yep.
Or this week.
One could be we're going to get humidity gauges.
Okay.
Second could be one of us is going to go check the mechanical room once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the third could be every other month I'm going to walk around and look at the window wells or the foundation for cracks. It could be simple. Doesn't have to cost any money, but just come up with 3 simple things.
There we go.
And I can't remember for sure, but it's either in December or right at the beginning of the year, we do the 2026 goals. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right. So think about it.
Yeah, pretty easy. We have, I think, only one course right now. We're trying to work on more stuff on Thinkific.
Yes.
I have numerous courses, but only one on
And we'll make sure to include the link to Steve's Thinkific school so you can get the latest updates whenever new stuff comes on there.
Oh, so they can sign up?
Yes, they can actually see when new stuff comes on.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like all I do is work on computers. But for our listeners, we do have courses on Udemy, but they're kind of a pain.
Yeah, and Thinkific is really where you want to go now. So just know we will market everything on cnccontractorservices.com, but we'll also put a link to the Thinkific source in the description.
Okay. We appreciate all of you. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Are you ready to take control of your environment and protect yourself from harmful mycotoxins? If you said yes to that, check out the Mycotoxin Prevention Kit. This easy-to-follow digital program is delivered straight to your inbox, guiding you through simple steps to reduce your exposure to the harmful byproduct of toxic mold, helping you feel safer and healthier at home. The Mycotoxin Prevention Kit gives you loads of education on mycotoxins for a really affordable price. Get started today by visiting cnccontractorservices.com/mycotoxin prevention kit. That's cnccontractorservices.com/mycotoxin prevention kit.